The fall of Earth. The sky burned. Captain Elias Carter stood on the rooftop of the Pentagon as fire rained down from the heavens. The alien ships, massive biomechanical leviathans, descended through the clouds like gods of war. Their hulls pulsed with eerie, violet energy, and from their underbellies, strange black obelisks dropped into the cities below. Seconds later, the ground trembled. Then came the screams. The invasion had begun. Carter grabbed his radio. All units fall back. DC is lost. Repeat, fall back to secondary positions. A blinding white beam carved through the skyline, vaporizing the Washington Monument in an instant. The force of the blast knocked Carter to the ground, his ears ringing. He struggled to his feet, scanning the devastation. The streets below were a nightmare. Civilians running in all directions, soldiers firing uselessly at towering alien war machines. These creatures weren't like anything humanity had ever faced. Towering bipedal constructs, their metallic exoskeletons shifted and adapted, absorbing bullets like raindrops. Carter didn't wait. He turned and sprinted for the stairwell. He had to reach the command center before everything collapsed. By the time he arrived, the Pentagon was already in chaos. Screens flickered with reports. New York, London, Beijing, all under siege. The Joint Chiefs barked orders, but their voices were drowned out by incoming distress calls. Dr. Sophia Lin stood in the center of the room, clutching a tablet, her face pale but determined. "Carter," she called out, "we need to evacuate now. The aliens are deploying something worse than just foot soldiers." Carter gritted his teeth. "Define worse." As if an answer, a deep, inhuman roar echoed through the walls. Then the power went out. The emergency lights flickered on, casting the room in a dim red glow. Carter unholstered his sidearm, even though he knew it would do little good. The doors burst open, and something crawled inside. It was humanoid but wrong. Twisted, elongated limbs, pale, fleshy skin wrapped around an exoskeletal frame. Its eyes were hollow voids, and its fingers ended in razor-sharp talons. The first soldier to react fired a burst from his rifle. The creature barely flinched before lunging forward, tearing into the man with terrifying speed. Carter didn't hesitate. He emptied his magazine into the thing's skull, sending it sprawling backward. It twitched once, then lay still. More sounds echoed from the hallway. More of them were coming. Lynn grabbed his arm. "We can't fight them here. I know a place deep underground. A research facility." Carter didn't argue. Everyone's still breathing move. The survivors ran, leaving the Pentagon behind as the sky burned overhead. Washington, D.C., like the rest of the world, was falling. But humanity wasn't done yet. They would endure. The fire within. The world above was gone. Captain Elias Carter adjusted his night vision goggles as he led his squad through the abandoned subway tunnels beneath Washington, D.C. The air was thick with dust, the scent of oil and sweat mingling with something else, something alien. The last time he had seen daylight, the sky was burning. That had been 3 days ago. "Clear," whispered Sergeant Marcos Grim Alvarez, sweeping the corridor with his rifle. His face was streaked with grime, his eyes hollow from exhaustion. Behind them, Dr. Sophia Lin clutched a tablet, her breath shallow. "We're close," she said. "There's a facility ahead. If it's still intact, we might have a chance." Carter gave a curt nod. The small group of survivors, soldiers, engineers, and scattered civilians, had spent days evading alien patrols. The invaders weren't just destroying Earth. They were hunting humans, rounding them up in grotesque biomechanical cages. No one knew why. As they pressed deeper, the tunnel opened into a vast underground bunker. The metal doors were ajar, untouched. The group hesitated, weapons ready. "Let's move," Carter ordered. Inside, the facility was intact. Old generator lights flickered to life, casting eerie shadows against steel walls. Banks of computers lined the room, their screens dark but functional. Dr. Lin rushed forward, her fingers dancing across a keyboard. "Yes," she breathed. "It still works?" "What works?" Carter asked. She turned to him, eyes burning with something he hadn't seen in days. Hope. This base was working on something before the invasion. A way to fight back. She pulled up a blueprint. Hybrid tech. We captured an alien drone years ago and studied its power source. I think I can use it to build weapons that can actually hurt them. Grim folded his arms. You're saying we can level the playing field? I'm saying, Lynn said, we might be able to turn their own weapons against them. Carter glanced at his team, dirty, battered, but still standing. He thought of the millions already dead, the cities reduced to rubble. The fight had seemed hopeless, but if Lynn was right, he turned to his squad. We're done running. The next few days were a blur of motion. Engineers stripped old weapons, rewired circuits, fused alien power cores to human rifles. The first test shot from a hybrid rifle punched straight through a steel plate. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. Then the alarms blared. A recon drone had picked up movement. Alien patrols, closing in fast. They know we're here, Grim growled. Carter strapped on his armor. Then let's show them humanity isn't finished yet. As the first shadows moved outside the bunker, Carter felt something in his chest that had been missing since the war began. Not fear, not despair, a fire. Humanity wasn't just surviving. It was about to fight back. The last gambit. The plan was insane. Captain Elias Carter stood in the underground war room, staring at the crude battle map displayed on a cracked screen. A red dot marked their target. The Nexus, a colossal alien warship in low Earth orbit. It wasn't just a command center, it was the invaders' nerve center. Destroy it, and the entire alien network on Earth would collapse. Dr. Sophia Lynn adjusted her glasses, her voice steady despite the weight of what she was saying. The Nexus isn't just coordinating their forces. It's linked to their entire hive mind network. If we overload its core, we can disrupt every alien unit on the planet. Sergeant Marcos Grim Alvarez crossed his arms. One problem, Doc. How the hell do we get up there? Lynn pulled up a schematic. Before the invasion, NASA had a classified orbital interceptor project. There's one launch-ready shuttle left in Cape Canaveral. If we can reach it, Carter nodded. Then we take the fight to them. Silence. The room was filled with hardened soldiers, engineers, and resistance fighters. They had fought for months, barely surviving. Now, they were being asked to launch an assault into space against a technologically superior enemy. Carter exhaled. I won't lie to you. This is a suicide mission. But if we don't take this shot, humanity won't get another. We've lost our homes. We've lost billions. But we're still here. And if we go down, we take those alien bastards with us. The room erupted in grim determination. They had nothing left to lose. Underscore. 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 The journey to Cape Canaveral was a gauntlet. Alien patrols swarmed the ruins of Florida, hunting any survivors. The resistance convoy pushed through, using their newly developed hybrid weapons to cut through enemy forces. Plasma bolts sizzled through the night, tearing apart alien constructs. For the first time since the war began, humans weren't just running. They were winning. By the time they reached the launch site, the cost was high. Half their team lost, but the shuttle remained intact. We're green for launch, Lynn confirmed, strapping into the cockpit. We get one shot at this. Carter, Grim, and a small strike team crammed into the shuttle. As the countdown hit 0, the engines roared to life. The ground fell away beneath them, and for the first time since the invasion, Carter saw Earth as a whole, scarred, burning, but still alive. Then the Nexus loomed ahead. The alien warship reacted instantly, its defensive batteries lighting up the void. Grim cursed, gripping his seat as explosions rocked the shuttle. We're hit, Lynn shouted, but we're close enough to board. Carter forced the manual override, guiding the shuttle into a brutal crash landing inside the Nexus hangar. The moment the hatch burst open, they were met with shrieking alien defenders. No turning back now. Weapons raised, humanity charged forward, straight into the heart of the enemy. Humanity endures. The Nexus was a nightmare of shifting metal and pulsing organic walls, its corridors alive with alien energy. Captain Elias Carter led the charge, plasma rifle blazing as he and his team fought their way through the warship's interior. Every step forward was paid for in blood. Sergeant Grimm's squad cut down wave after wave of alien defenders, their hybrid weapons finally proving that humanity could bite back. Dr. Sophia Lynn clutched a data pad, racing alongside Carter. The core's ahead. We overload it, and the whole ship goes critical. A monstrous roar echoed down the corridor. The enemy had sensed something different this time. The Warlord. It stood nearly 10 feet tall, an armored behemoth of shifting alien plating. In one smooth motion, it impaled a resistance fighter on a serrated blade protruding from its wrist. Carter emptied an entire clip into the thing's chest. It barely flinched. Grimm stepped forward. "I got this." Before Carter could stop him, Grimm charged, his plasma rifle abandoned in favor of an alien energy blade ripped from a dead invader. The two warriors clashed in a brutal, primal melee. The Warlord's strikes came fast, but Grimm was faster, dodging, countering, and finally driving the glowing blade deep into the alien's throat. The creature gurgled, its black blood spraying across the walls. It collapsed lifeless. Grimm wiped his face, grinning through bloody teeth. "Tough bastard." Carter clapped his shoulder. "No time to celebrate. Let's finish this." They reached the Nexus core, a pulsating, organic reactor the size of a skyscraper. Lynn ran to the control panel, fingers flying. "I'm in. Initiating overload sequence now." Warning sirens blared as alien glyphs flashed red. The Nexus was waking up, realizing what was happening. Across the ship, creatures shrieked in unison. The floor trembled beneath them. "Hostiles incoming," Grimm shouted. Carter turned to Lynn. "How long?" 3 minutes. They didn't have 3 minutes. The first wave of aliens stormed the chamber. The resistance fought with everything they had. Plasma bursts lit up the darkness. Grenades tore through enemy ranks, but the creatures kept coming. Grimm went down, bleeding, dragging himself behind cover. The others fell one by one. Then the Nexus let out a deep, resonating hum. A surge of power rippled through the ship. Lynn looked up in horror. "It's trying to abort the overload." Carter made his choice. Not today. He sprinted to the manual override panel, yanking open the core's emergency failsafe. The only way to finish this was to do it manually. Lynn's eyes widened. "Elias, no. Get out of here." He pulled the final lever. A violent shockwave erupted through the Nexus. The last thing Carter saw was the blinding light of the core imploding. The sky was clear for the first time in months. Lynn stood among the survivors on Earth, staring at the burning wreckage of the alien fleet crashing into the oceans. The Nexus was gone. The invasion was over. Grimm, battered but alive, grunted. "Damn, he really did it." Lynn wiped her tears, staring up at the empty sky. Carter was gone, but humanity remained. They had endured, and they always would.